have not downloaded the wrong show. This is still about that. And I'm Marga Ortigas in the studio with Asian rocker Tirso Ripoll from the iconic Philippine band Razorback. They burst onto the music scene in the early 90s and haven't really stopped rocking since. Tirso is now in his mid-40s.
Aging like a fine wino.
There you go. Just like Steven Tyler, the guys of Kiss, I suppose.
Yeah. Keith Richards.
Keith Richards. Is that who you'd say you're patterning your life after?
If I want to be Keith Richards when I grow up.
Really?
Yes.
Why? What is it about Keith Richards that you...
Well, look at him. He's indestructible. I mean, he's 77.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
He's 77 and they're still on tour. And he can still put out an amazing album. He's still a great musician up to today. He's hilarious. You know, it's great.
What got you interested in that kind of music and lifestyle? You say the rock and roll, the rocker lifestyle.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I grew up. I was listening to this stuff since I was a kid. Look, I had the Kiss lunchbox, in grade 5. So I grew up. This is my elder brother's influence because he would play this stuff in the car. My uncle also would have a lot of this stuff playing, and so I just grew up with it. And then eventually I just started listening to it on my own, and then you start buying your own records. But in the beginning, when I was a kid, it was Kiss, Pink Floyd, the Stones, all of that, and that's basically on my way to school in the car. That's what we would be playing in the mornings and on the way home. Then eventually I met Miguel Ortigas as, your cousin. And then we got into like the metal, man. And that's when Black Sabbath and Ozzie and like Iron Maiden and all that stuff started happening. And then we eventually formed Razorback together. And I know at some point we looked at each other and we're like, we got to get a band together, man. Let's form a band. And that was basically how we started.
How old were you at that time?
I don't know, 13, 14. We didn't start the band then, but we should. We need to do this at some point.
What was it about the music that you liked? I mean, it's not the easiest of music to get into for many people.
I don't know. I mean, it's the Stones. Those guys are hugely popular. Every band. It's hard to say. I mean, it was nuts. It was wild. It's like, dude, it's just, it's blowing my mind, and I guess it's dangerous. It feels dangerous, and you're like, I like that. That's right. That was cool. And I want to say it was that. And, for me, it was weird because nobody liked heavy metal when I was in school. So I was like the only kid I was in San Agustin in the 80s.
So it's like a Catholic school.
Oh, yeah. Private Catholic school, co-ed. So, but I was like the only guy in my entire year level that liked Iron Maiden or Black Sabbath or anything. And everyone was like, dude, you're going to go to hell. And this is at the height of the heavy metal, there's the devil's music. And everyone was like, you're going to burn in hell. I'm like, I don't give a rat's ass, But maybe it was that also because you're like, well, you have this weird, like, I've got my own thing and I'm not like everybody else. Maybe. And then everybody who liked the same music sort of gravitated together. But I remember it was a little difficult because you're like the only guy that likes it, and then you're being persecuted for it because this is the time, like I said, when all of that stuff was happening. It was a weird time, but we were not deterred.
Did that add to the appeal? The whole rebel.
I think it did after a while. I'm pretty sure we were like, yeah, and you're able to stick your finger out at everybody. It's like, up yours, come on.
And then when did the actual band come together?
Pretty late because I think, well, technically around the 90s, like 1990s, our official sort of birth date, which we use as to mark, because we're 27 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah, October 1990s and Halloween.
Hey, you're headed towards the Stones trajectory
I know,
there.
Right?
You're getting
That's why I look up to them so much. If they can do it,
yeah, exactly.
It can be done. But I'm gonna say around there in the 90s, I was midway through college, and at some point, this I remember, Migs and I would go out. We were starting to go out more often watch bands, and we're like, dude, I don't like anybody. There's only a couple of, and then we found bands that we liked, but there were very few. I mean, it was like Coco Jam, We'd see Pepe Smith a couple of times, and we're like, okay, this is stuff is good, but they weren't really playing, and a lot of the guys our age were playing. We didn't like anybody, so we're like, we need to make a band because nobody's doing it right, so we're gonna do it. At least not the rock and roll that we wanted, because the guys were doing it like Jun Lupito, Pepe Smith. These were the older guys, and they were. They were 20 years older than we were, and so these guys from the guys from the 70s is Juan de la Cruz, and who were huge influences on us. I think that's really important. At some point, we had stumbled on these records. We played the crap out of this record. We just played it over and over. It's like all our favorite songs.
Right.
Half our set list is on this album. All of these songs we would do, and so we were heavily influenced by a lot of these. Like Sampaguita, Anak Bayan, Edmond Fortuno, and all of that. And we would just listen to it. Because Migs and I, we loved music. We listened to it a lot. And that's we would sit around and listen to these great records. He had an amazing record collection. And then we would get out to meet these guys when we were older and we were able to go out and watch them. And then we were like, we need to do this. We need to do that. Because nobody's doing it. And they're not really, they were kind of older, and we can do this. That was sort of the start.
Razorback was definitely unique in the Philippine music scene at that point, and it created a wave of very different type of musicians.
Yeah, I'll say, because the whole Pinoy rock thing was at the time we came out at like in the we started out obviously doing covers because it takes a while, and then it took a while for us to get signed because a bunch of white guys playing Juan de la Cruz was just freaking everybody out, so they didn't know what to do with us, But it worked, and a lot of people got off on it. Eventually, that started happening. So, about '95, we finally released our first album. But the Eraserheads were coming out at the time. Right. Of course, you had the Dawn in the '80s,
right?
Intro Voice and those guys, but entering the '90s, pretty much it was the E-Heads, and you had Yano, the Youth. All these guys had gone before us, and then so it took a while for us to get out. But we were the only guys doing like our kind of thing, which is sort of blues based. A lot of old 70s style rock and roll, which may or may not have been, I couldn't tell you the popularity of it around, like the whole 70s. There wasn't much of a 70s revival,
because you did a lot of live gigs, if I remember.
Yeah, we always played. I played a lot. We still do. You have to, That's and not, especially now around the world, it's like the music industry is turned on its head, and everybody must play live.
Because back then, were you in college at the same time? Had you quit school for this?
No. When we started in 1990, I had 2 years of college to go, and you basically start, and it was just sort of just figuring stuff out, and so it was okay. Wasn't anywhere near the point that I could, stop. But then, after a while, when we got so I graduated, BS ECE, so.
What's that? What's
electronics engineering?
Oh,
so,
okay.
It was nothing to, that's pretty tough.
Yes.
So eventually, you got to a point that we released the first album, and then it started to happen, like that whole wave you spoke about, that really happened, and then you were playing a lot. Like we were playing like 4 or 5 nights a week, and we were making good money. I mean, I had so much money, I didn't know how much money I had.
Right.
All I knew was there's money there,
Yeah.
But we were too busy. We were playing a lot, and it was great. So luckily I didn't have to quit school to do it. A lot of guys I know did, but I didn't have to. So that was fortunate.
What was your plan after that? I mean, your career then kicked off. Eventually, you guys got a professional record deal.
Yeah, that all happened, yeah. And this was back when it was still CDs, cassettes.
See, back when you could still actually touch where the music came from, right? And not something online.
Yeah, the internet didn't even exist,
That's true.
Cell phones didn't even exist.
Did you have a plan back then for?
Yeah. You know what's funny? Our first plan, okay, this is like before 90, when we were just like in Miguel's room, like just jamming. We got to get good, and then we got to go to Olongapo. Because that's where all these guys were hanging out. Like they were all playing. Because the scene in Olongapo was like super vibrant. Because this was the US bases were still here. Remember?
Right.
Just before they got kicked out.
Oh, this was that long ago. That was around early 90s.
This is
That's
like
right, early
89,
90s.
88, 89. This is when we really.
So the US military bases were still in the Philippines.
They were still here. So this is when Migs bought a drum set. I picked up a guitar. We were like around that time.
Did you teach yourself how to play guitar?
Pretty much. My brother, I have to credit him a lot.
Right.
My elder brother really showed me my first few chords. But I picked it up from there. And our plan was, we're gonna play in Olongapo, man. There's tons of bars. It's gonna be great. We're just gonna live up there. It's gonna be awesome. And then Pinatubo happened.
Volcano.
Like, oh shit.
Volcano erupted and kicked out the Americans,
right.
basically.
No, and then wiped out the entire Olongapo.
That's
so we're
true.
like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Well, So we found another. There was a place that we used to go to, Calle, which served really cheap drinks and had a really good band, and we would watch them and they play some good rock and roll. This is Ricky Cui and Miyagi, who used to play with Sampaguita, and so it was great to watch them. And so they would let us jam every now and again, and so then we ended up at some point they got removed from the bar, and the bar guys asked us if we wanted to take it over. That was effectively our first gig, and because we used to go, it was funny. And this is a lesson, I guess, to anybody who's in a band. If you go to a club, bring all your friends and make sure they drink a lot. Then the club's gonna want you back all the time. Doesn't even matter how you play. Like they don't even. The bars don't care as long as they can sell the booze. They don't care what's happening. So, and Isabel Lozano was our singer, right? So just beautiful. And then so they're like,
Oh, that's true, because you did go through several singers.
Yeah, we had Isabel before. And so like of course they're like, come over and jam. And I'm just like looking at these guys like, you guys are, Anyway, but they would let us jam, and all our friends would come, and all of us would drink. And so when that band, I guess, left the bar called Miguel and go, hey, you guys want to come in? You guys want to come and fill the spot? And I'll never forget. I was in Miguel's house, and he goes, yeah, we'll do it. Yeah. And I looked at him like, what are you doing? We know like 4 songs. And he's like, don't worry about it. We're playing on Saturdays 3 hours. I'm like, are you insane? And he's like, don't worry about it. We'll start practicing now. I'm like, oh my God. So we learned, we like busted our asses, and we learned like, I don't know, like 20 songs. And we played Saturday, but we totally sucked. But we had a lot of friends. We brought all our friends, and they drank. So they asked us back the next week and the week after that. But we kept practicing. We kept learning new stuff. And at some point, your friends stop coming, and then other people you don't know start coming. And then eventually you look around, and one day we looked up and we're like, dude, I don't know anybody here. And I'm like, I guess that's all right.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you realize, okay, I think we got something going on here. And we were making money too, and stuff, so it was good.
Wow, that's great. So how long did it take between starting out and then getting your record deal?
Oh, that's about 5 years. 1990 to about 94, 95 was when we.
Okay.
Well, 95 our album came out. So I'm gonna say about 4 years.
At any point in that time, did you think, I'm gonna stop doing this?
No.
I'm gonna get a regular job? No.
Never. I don't think. I think all of us knew. Like I certainly did. Like I was listening to your podcast the other day, the one with the therapist, and she was talking about how people find themselves lost and not.
Yeah.
I was never lost. I knew exactly what I was gonna do. This is exactly what I wanted to do. And so like, yeah, we're going to do it, man. Whatever. Record deal. I don't need no stinking record deal. Whatever, man. Sure, whatever. We'll do it. And we turned down a couple of guys who, because they would try to shaft you all the time.
Right.
But we ended up with some nice guys, and, we got signed eventually, but it took a while. But I think one of the things we always did was you got to live it on your own terms, and we were very adamant about that. We're like, look, we're not going to, because they're all like, oh, you got to do a love song. I'm like, and Migs are the best. Migs is the best of at meetings. I ain't doing no bleeping the love song.
Yeah.
There's no effing way, And we would do stuff like that, and we would get, But, I think if you, in retrospect, this is probably it's what you're going to do. It's your life, right?
And how did you? Okay, because you went from that and you carried on. It then did not occupy your professional life all that much anymore after a few years, right?
Yeah,
you moved on to other things.
Yes. Well, what happened was, so you start out and, you're in your 20s. It's great. It's a wonderful time. And you're playing every night because you have to play. I mean, here, around the world, they're learning that now, but it's always been this way in the Philippines where you don't make money on the sales of your records. Your records is basically, if you have a record, it funds your shows. You play a lot and you make your money playing. And we played a lot. We played, 4 or 5 nights a week, sometimes 2-3 times a night, one gig to the next. We just do it. It was great. I mean, you're indestructible.
Yeah,
you're 25, 26. And then we started recording our next albums and all that because the record companies were cool. They knew enough to leave us alone, as long as we gave them the singles that they wanted or we came up with something good. And so we did that for a while. That was from I'm going to say from 95 till right through about 2000, 99, 2000. So that was for that whole period, we were just that's all we did. Okay. And it was great. But then around 99, so I started. That's when I sort of got married and stuff, and
You sort of got married. Sort
well,
of.
sort of, sorry. But that's when I got married, and
Right.
then things became a little different. But at that point, also I think we went through a thing where we took a little break because we had been doing this pretty rough for about 4 years, 5 years, and we're like, okay, let's just relax and concentrate on those other parts of our lives that have neglected for a while. Like our just stuff like we had all this money, but I didn't know what to do. I had nothing. I
Right.
didn't know what to do. And so, anyways, I got married. And then that's when I quickly realized, well, when you're alone, you can do that. when you have a family, it's like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's bills are get a little bigger, and as you move forward, bills get a little bigger. So and then so I decided, to work for the family because we have the cigar business, and I said, and we needed some help doing that, and I said, I think this is something I can do, and we were doing that break anyways. So I went in there and we started working, helping out and all of that. And that sort of carried on. And then everybody pretty much at the time went through the same thing where it's like, dude, we don't really have to play 5 nights a week. It doesn't make sense. We can just, keep it for the weekends and stuff. And that's basically what we've been doing for the last how many years. It's like, you play on the weekends and stuff, and money's still good, but
Yeah.
you don't have to, at some point it becomes. There's a period in the noughties, in the early, from 2000 to like 2007 or whatever. You could play during the week, but it's hard. After a while, it's hard to get up at 4 a.m. Get home at 3 a.m.
Right.
Get up at 7. I mean, there's just no way. It becomes really. In your 20s, you can do that. Now later on, you couldn't. So then, then we would keep it like just for the weekends and stuff like that, which is what we do now, and that's been its way for a long time, and it's worked out. It allows everybody to do their things on the side and everything.
So you've managed to basically juggle like a less rock profession with,
Oh, yeah.
your passion, which is playing music.
Yeah,
And-
yeah, for sure. I mean, ideally, if what we were doing paid all the bills, then I wouldn't have to worry about. Then like if you like, I wouldn't need to do whatever. I would do this all the time. But it's in the Philippines to get there, you need to make a lot of compromises, and we've never been willing to do that. Like, I'm not gonna this is what I do, and there's no way I'm gonna like compromise the music or anything to make a buck, because then that just sort of defeats the purpose. I mean,
Right.
I think the biggest nightmare I could ever have was, to be to play stuff you don't like. I mean, imagine, I couldn't imagine being like hugely successful, but I hated every song we played. That would be a nightmare. You know what I mean?
So you've been able to do this basically all on your terms, all the terms
Yes,
that you
everything
guys.
is, always. You have to, I mean, we've done it. Sometimes that's not the most wise decision to do, and it hurt us. But you have to. I think you got to live it on your own terms, or else there's no point.
Yeah.
And so we've always done that, And yeah, so I mean, and you're able to manage. It's just like you got to be careful, like especially now. Like, when am I 46? It's harder. You can't go out. It hurts more the next day. Recovery time's a little harder.
And how old are your kids now? Because you've got 3 kids.
Yes, 15. My son Daniel's 15. My daughter Max is 11, and then my son Adrian is 7.
How has everything you've been through shaped how you are as a father to these pretty much teenagers and a preteen?
Oh yeah. Well.
You don't let them out of the house now.
No, yeah. No. I called up Good Shepherd Convent to see if I get my daughter. No, because I know. I mean, one thing you have to know about the rock and roll scene: everything you hear is true.
Right.
Absolutely, everything you hear is true. And if you stay there long enough, you'll have to be. You'll be in a situation where you have to make choices. And you can either make a very bad one, or a very good, or one that you just avoided a very bad situation. And I've been through that many. Obviously I've been deep in it, so I know, I have to go through that. So maybe as a parent, I know, so I'm like, don't bullshit a bullshitter, man. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't pull one over me. So I know what's going on. And so I can give some good advice in terms of navigating your way through this part of your thing. Teens, well, I wasn't being a teen, whatever. That's just tricky. But I think I'm a little more patient, a little more understanding. I'm, because you meet a lot of people and you understand people are different. And some people have just weird, some people are just strange. Some people just have weird mental issues. So you learn to be patient and you learn to understand that people are the way they are. And if somebody's likes something a certain way, then, hey, that's all right.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's helped me. Then so you sort of actually broadened my mind. I don't know.
And how do the kids feel about, daddy being a rock
Oh
star?
yeah, it's cool. They think it's cool.
Yeah.
They when they see it on TV and stuff, it's fun. And
Are any of them getting into this kind of music?
well, yeah. I mean, he loves Iron Maiden. Like
really?
I play because we play. I got this Iron Maiden game. There's a game, and we're playing it. And he saw me playing it, and he's like, "What's that?" And then so I got it for his iPad. I really shouldn't, But he loves the music. It's like I love it. So he makes me play it in the car all the time and stuff. So it's there's that. Max is playing piano as is 80. So yeah.
And your wife, any advice that she might be giving you in terms of, maybe you can retire soon?
No, I think
No.
no. I mean, I think she knows. It's like if I did that, I would be miserable, and then she would be miserable because I'd make her miserable. I'd make everybody around me miserable. I'd be a complete wreck. So I have to do this. I always tell everybody, it's this stuff used to make us totally nuts. Now it keeps me totally sane. Without this, I would be an awful, awful, awful person. I know. So and I think she knows that. So it's like, go.
Yeah.
You need to do this.
Do you consider yourself lucky that you've been able to maintain?
Yes, definitely. I mean, look, I'm lucky to be with the same guys, more or less, and it's great. It's great to play with these guys. I couldn't think of a better bunch of guys to play with. It's really nice after 27 years. I've been with these guys longer than I've been married. So
Yeah.
We know each other very well on a musical level. It's amazing because it's like the community. It's like you can do things that are you really just couldn't do with anybody else. This is just because you've been. There's things you learn at 4 a.m. in Merrick's that you don't learn anywhere else, man. Stuff like that. And when you're together in these situations. And so I am very lucky to be still with the same bunch of guys. If I wasn't with them, I'd still be making music. I don't know how, I'm sure I could, that wouldn't be a problem, but I don't know if I would be as happy because these guys are, the Razorback guys are wonderful and I love these guys, so it's great. It's great. I'm very, very fortunate. So
Has
I
your
realize
writing
that.
changed over the years?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, everything's changed. You mature, and you do, and that always comes out musically and lyrically and all of that. You have to, and we get better. From the first album, I wasn't very good at as I am now. I'm much better now, and so I'm able to do things now that I wasn't able to do then. So yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. I mean, lyrically, but medyo you mature also. You stop being a little lecherous, not so.
Yeah, okay.
Nowadays.
The younger, okay.
I know,
yeah.
like very rock and roll. And but yeah, I think you have to evolve, and I think if you don't evolve, you die. And so this is also us. Like I never want to be one of these legacy acts, as they call them. It's basically just keep playing your hits. That's all you do, and you just go out there and play that. That's like death. I don't want to do that. Even if you're only playing your own songs, but still. I want to, you have to write new material. We're working on new material now. We're always working on new material, just harder to get together because everyone's got stuff to do.
Are the topics of your songs, how have those evolved? Like as a guy writing now in his 40s, I mean.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, a lot of it is still, we try not to get like really weird and political and stuff.
Yeah.
Only because, I don't know. I think it's a way to escape from all of that, And at least the stuff like I will write. I mean, I'll write about just a lot of what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. So like, if I'm feeling a bit off, if I'm feeling, madly in love at the time, then I'll write something along that line or whatever.
Have you noticed your audiences have evolved too, right? You're getting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's nice to have we still have a nice cross section, but what I love is when we started out, you'd have these 5 kids. They'd come, they'd sit at the table, they'd order one Red Horse, and they'd all share it, right? Now, those 5 guys have a bottle of scotch apiece.
Right.
Because they have jobs, they have money, and they still come and watch. So the bars love us now more than ever because they're drinking the good stuff.
All the uncles are coming in.
Oh yeah, the titos of Manila be coming over, drinking the good stuff. Bar loves it, But we get a lot of young guys who come too, which is really encouraging, and it's nice. So.
And is it important for you guys to kind of still reach that younger audience?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. I don't know I don't know if we make a massively conscious effort to actually do that though. I don't know if I always get that. I'm weird like that. So I'm like, if we try, it may come off as it may seem insincere. Like if we tried to let's reach the millennials. I don't know. It just seems like let's have a marketing plan. I'm like, no, this is why we always fight with management, and they're like, we need to reboot. I'm like, reboot my ass, man.
Right.
I'll put my boot in your ass. It's like we need to revamp the image. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Just don't, That's something we've never really been good at. So, are we reaching the young kids? If we are, great. I mean, and I would, I'm happy for that. I think that's a nice effect of. The recognizing what we're doing. Are we making a conscious effort to do so? Maybe not. I think we're just doing what we're doing. And if they're able to ride on to that, then that's good. Good on us to be able to do that.
Do you have any regrets?
No, none. Wait, let me try to think. There's got to be one in there somewhere.
No, that's good then. If everything has just kind of been a learning experience.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, everything's pretty good. I mean, my only problem, like anybody else, is probably money. I mean, I wish I had more. If you had, I mean, if this, like, if we were doing like Madison Square Garden, whatever, and I was making $1 million,
right?
Then okay, different. Then again, I always think about that, and I know guys that do this. And, everything has cost. Nothing is free in this world. So the guys that still play 4 or 5 nights a week, they make a lot of money.
Right.
But they're playing 4 or 5 nights a week. They don't see their families. They're away. Yeah. They're home 1 week out of the month. I mean, you can't. I couldn't have a family like that. If I did, they would hate me. I would probably be divorced. So yes, you can do it. But there is a cost to all of these things. And maybe I've found a way to minimize that. I still get to do what I want. I have my cake. I get to eat it too, a little.
Yeah.
Maybe. But regrets, I have a few. Then again.
Oh, God. We had to go there, didn't we? I was afraid you were going to break into song with that one. You're a whole different version. So this is the kind of music they're playing nowadays. What would you say to guys your age, or even the women, our age, who are listening and then seeing basically how you've attacked or how you've lived your life so far?
I think what I'm really fortunate for, and I think why I'm very lucky, is I found my thing very, very early on. I mean, I knew it right away. I think that's it. You got to find your thing. However, whatever it is, I mean, I have music. That's me. It could be kiteboarding, man. It could be yoga. It could be tennis. It could be anything. But find that thing. Find that thing that if you were given like $10 billion today, that you would still do it every day. That would be your thing, I think. Because that would be like, for me, if you gave me $10 billion today, I'm still going to my gig in Luneta, you know what I mean? That's not going to change. And I'll just play more, But find your thing. How to do that? That's hard. That's the tricky part, and I think this is where you need therapists and stuff can come and help you. But honestly, I think that's really it. Find that thing that still makes you tingle inside or whatever. Knocks.
Tirso, thank you very, very much.
Thanks
really
for putting
appreciate
up with me, Marga.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.